Hi, David O'Sullivan here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the films that define my life. And to kind of explain what that means, the films in this video are going to be films that aren't just influential films in my life, but films that I was able to really connect with, films where I was able to really relate to the main character, and films that really resonated with me on a deeper kind of emotional level, as well as the films that kind of were very influential to me. And also, pretty much all of these are some of my favourite films of all time as well. So they're not just favourite films, they're not just influential films, but they're films that I kind of like grew up with in a sense, as well as films that are kind of almost encapsulations of different parts of my life and kind of really kind of reflect me as a person, my character, my sense of humour, my kind of outlook on life and that kind of thing. So in short, these are the films that define me. The way I'm going to do this video is that I'm going to start with the film that kind of reflects the earliest time of my life and go up to kind of the film that reflects me as who I am today. So the first film up, it's Bambi. I could have so easily just filled this entire list with Disney films because the Disney films are really just an encapsulation of my childhood. I grew up with the films of the classic Disney days, like Bambi, like Jungle Book, like Sword and Stone, Robin Hood, as well as, you know, like Snow White, the Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella, Little Mermaid. I loved all of them as a kid and I still love them all now. My four top favourites are probably Bambi, Jungle Book, Sword and Stone, Robin Hood. But if I had to pick one and I had to narrow it down to one, it had to be Bambi, because Bambi was probably one of the first Disney films I ever saw. It's probably one of the first ever films I saw in general. The last time I saw this, it was the first time I'd seen it in quite a while, because, you know, I watched it again not so long ago, and before that it had been like years since I last saw it, so I didn't really have an idea of whether I'd still really like it or if it'd still be a really good film, because sometimes you watch a film as a kid, you grow up and you're like, oh, I can't wait to watch this film again, and you watch it and it's like, oh, that wasn't as good as I remembered. But with Bambi, I watched it again and it was just as good, if not better than I remember, because I always loved it as a kid. But now that I'm older and know more about kind of filmmaking and what makes a good film, I can watch this and really appreciate how good of a film it is, as well as have a great fun time. Because for me, this is one of the best, if not the best Disney film. I think this was, and still is for me, the best Disney film of all time. I mean, there's so many great Disney films. There's even some more modern ones like Aladdin and The Lion King I really like as well. But for me, Bambi will always be the best. It's in a very special place to me. One of my favourite films of my childhood. It's very nostalgic for me. And as well as that, it's a great film. Like I said, it's so beautiful. It's beautiful hand-drawn animation. One of Disney's first films, their fifth film, came out in 1942, like 70 years ago or something, but it was so good, so well done. The characters are just adorable, they're just so lovable and so delightful. The story is just great as well. You can really connect with the character of Bambi. It's quite a scary and traumatic in parts, but it's a very just beautiful, fun, loving film that I just absolutely love. So there you go, Bambi. And the next film on the list, it's kind of cheating a little bit because there's not one film, but I just love them all so much. The Normal Wisdom collection. I'm not kind of counting every single one. I would say my favourites and the ones that I would consider to be on this list would be On the Beat, A Stitch in Time, One Good Turn, and The Bulldog Breed. Those are the four that I grew up watching. There's a lot of other great ones as well, but for me they're the four best because they're the closest to me. I've got the most personal connection to those because I grew up watching the Normal Wisdom films on video. We had like those films I mentioned, the four of them on video, and there was like one that had a yellow case, a red case, a green case, and a blue case. And I remember I always used to refer to them as, oh, the yellow one, the red one, the blue one, the green one. Because the blue one was the policeman one On the Beat. The green one was the navy one, the Bulldog Breed. The red one was the Stitch in Time, and the yellow one was One Good Turn. And I loved them all as a kid. I think the funniest would probably be On the Beat. The one when he kind of pretends to be a policeman and he's all running around the town. It all goes crazy because everyone. It's great because I can really relate to the character of Norman Wisdom. Because he's kind of himself. He's playing himself, and he's kind of the same character in all of the films. So it's Norman Pipkin, Norman Puckle, whatever you want to call him. And it's great because I can really relate to him. He's like this small little guy that he's a little bit accident prone. He's a good heart, he means well, but you know, it never quite goes too well for him. He's kind of the butt of the joke on a lot of occasions. But yeah, just on the beat, it's so funny because he he really wants to be a policeman, but he's just too short. His dad was a policeman, but he can't be one because he's too short and they won't accept him. And he starts dressing up, running around in his dad's policeman clothes, and then they all think he's a policeman. And it's one of those films that it's funny, and it just gets funnier and funnier, and there's just so many great gags in it. The opening scene, it's all going on in his head. It's a dream essentially, but it's so funny where he thinks he's this really big kind of famous kind of cop from Scotland Yard, and it's so funny, and it's kind of got the kind of Charlie Chaplin kind of silent comedy kind of touch to it. And yeah, and there's just so many other great funny moments as well. He discovers that there's this guy, this Italian gangster who's kind of in disguise as this kind of hairdresser working at this place, and they realise that they have to bring Norman in because he looks just like him, and he has to dress up and pretend to be him, and it's just so hilarious. It's so funny. I just love all of the Norman Wisdom films. They're just really just a reflection of me and my character and my sense of humour. I just grew up watching these films. My mum loved them back in the day, and I grew up watching them with her, and they were just so funny. I just love them. Some of my favourite comedy films of all time. I love the whole kind of slapstick physical comedy. It's just my favourite type of comedy. So yeah, Norman Wisdom. And the next film up, it's Hook. Yes, another one of my films from my childhood. Came out in the early 90s. I just grew up watching this film, all of Robin Williams' films. There are a couple of other Robin Williams films on this list, but again, Robin Williams and his films, there are other films that I just grew up watching as a kid. I just love them all, whether it's Hook, whether it's Mrs. Doubtfire, Jumanji, Flubber, whatever. I just loved Robin Williams and his comedy films. I didn't discover his, great dramatic films until much later, because when I was a kid, I only really ever watched the comedy stuff, and I never really knew that he did any other kind of dramatic stuff. But yeah, Hook, again, one of my favourite films from my childhood, a very nostalgic film for me. It's not the best film ever, it's, a lot of critics kind of really trash on the film. I don't think it's that great, and it's not the best film ever, but it's one of those films that's so kind of nostalgic for me anyway, and for the people that grew up watching it when they were kids. They can really look back on it and have really fond memories of watching it when they were a kid. I remember I had this one on video as well, and again, just Robin Williams as Peter Pan, as the older Peter Pan, him learning what it means to be a kid again and having fun and re-becoming Peter Pan. That whole scene is so great when he just lets go of everything and he becomes Peter Pan once more, and it's just so great. It's just such a fun, feel-good, family fun adventure film that you can't help but smile when you're watching it. It's technically not the best film, but it's just so much fun to watch. It puts a smile on your face. Robin Williams is so great as older Peter Pan, and Dustin Hoffman as well as Hook was great. I mean, this was really the archetypal kind of definitive Peter Pan movie for me growing up. Hook just really reflects my time as a kid, just my whole outlook on life and my personality. I was a really kind of fun, happy, carefree kid. I didn't really have any care in the world. I was always happy and fun and loving all the time. And yeah, I was like, I never wanted to grow up either. I still don't. But yeah, it's just Peter Pan, never wanted to grow up. Him becoming a kid again, just letting go, having fun, being free. I just absolutely love it. And the next film up, it's Dead Poet Society. Like I said, there's another Robin Williams film in there. I had to throw this film in there because it's another one of my favourite Robin Williams films, but this is also a kind of great drama as well, and it's kind of like a high school teen film as well. I mean, I don't really like teen dramas or films about kids in high school per se, but Dead Poet Society I absolutely loved because I was really able to connect with it and relate to the characters and the story and the situation. And I just loved it so much. It took me a while to get around to seeing this film. I only first saw it not that long ago, but I'm glad I waited and didn't see it until more recently because it kind of really reflects my time as a kid in secondary school, and it kind of really is an encapsulation of my school life and kind of the relationships I had with my teachers, because I had a couple of teachers that were kind of a little bit like Mr. Keating. They were more different, they were more fun and friendly, you can engage with them a lot more, and you felt more relaxed. And I've got this kind of story to go with this because it's a little kind of sad, but it's similar to what happens in the film. We get this great teacher, Mr. Keating. He's such a great teacher. The boys there, they're really able to kind of connect with him and do really well. He's a little bit unorthodox in his methods. It's a bit of a stuffy kind of like traditional school, and then they don't like that he's different, and they just gang up and kick him out. And I hate that. It just really angers me and annoys me. And the same kind of thing happened with my school. I didn't go to a prestigious kind of boys' school, grammar school or anything. But we had a teacher, a science teacher he was, and he was great. He was more fun. He kind of made jokes, but it was great because you enjoyed his lessons, and he was really fun. But then I think the other teachers just didn't like him for some reason. They all kind of like ganged up in here and they wouldn't let him do what he wanted to do. And he was supposed to have been the head of the science division, and they kept bringing in new people to kind of tell him what to do, even though they had nothing to do with science. And then he kind of just got like ganged up on by the other teachers and kicked out. And then we even had this kind of end of year assembly, and he just got kicked out. He got really upset and he just left. And I find that really upsetting and really angers and annoys me, because it's a similar kind of thing to Dead Poet Society, and I was really able to connect with them in that way because of that. And just Robin Williams as Mr. Keating is just so great, and we got even Hawke there as well as one of the young boys, and the relationship that he has with Mr. Keating, I was really able to relate with that as well, because he was kind of this more kind of quiet, reserved kid, and Mr. Keating was able to kind of bring him out of his shell a bit, and how the relationship that he had with him. And then just the ending of the film, oh my god, it had me in tears. Next film up is Inception. More of a modern film, it only came out 6 years ago, but the reason I have this film on this list is because not only am I a massive big fan of sci-fi action thrillers, and I think this is probably one of the best, one of my favourites as well. It's also a Christopher Nolan film, one of my favourite directors. I love just all of his films. But the reason I've got Inception on this list is because I don't know if Inception would be his best, but it's probably one of my personal favourites. And also, it's a film, even though it only came out 6 years ago, it was probably one of the first films I saw that really kind of opened my eyes to what a director could do with a blockbuster, essentially. Because before this film, I had only ever really watched films to be entertained, to have fun. I didn't really get into looking at films as more of an art form and really kind of judging and reviewing and evaluating filmmaking until more like 2011, I would say. But with this film, when I first saw this, it was really like, wow, it was really one of the most influential films to me in that respect, because I was like I said, it opened my eyes to what a director could do with a blockbuster, because most blockbusters are kind of just big, dumb popcorn films, but with this, Christopher Nolan proved that you could make a blockbuster that is very kind of complex and intelligent and thought-provoking and is a great film, as well as a big fun summer blockbuster. And I think Christopher Nolan really changed the game with this. Everyone was crazy about it when it came out, and people still love it now and still talk about it now. And again, it's probably one of my favourite films as well. Such a cool concept, the whole dreams thing, going into people's dreams, kind of planting ideas, all that kind of thing. Great cast as well, and Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Marion Cotillard, Ellen Page, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy. Just a great cast. But as well as it being a very influential film to me in terms of opening my eyes to, you know, what a director could do with a film and really getting me into like kind of looking at film more critically and reviewing films, it also was, again, another film that I'm able to connect with emotionally. It's not the most emotional film, but in terms of the characters and the relationships, I did lose someone very close to me in my life around the kind of the same time, and what kind of the main character Dom Cobb goes through in this film with his wife, not wanting to let go of his wife. He really wants to hold on to her. He can't accept the fact that she's gone. He's keeping her alive, making these memories and these dreams, and he really just really doesn't want to let go of her, and he can't accept the fact that she's gone. And I kind of relate to that as well. And also the fact with Cillian Murphy's character as well, and his relationship with his dad as well, and how it gets that kind of final scene of him with his dad there. I find it quite emotional, and I can really relate to the characters and the relationships between the characters and of what they're going through, and relationships kind of between family members in that respect. So yeah, that's why I've got Inception on my list. Another very modern film now, and next film up, it's Boyhood. It only came out a couple of years ago. I was really able to connect with this film. I was really able to relate to the main character of Mason, because it's so weird, because I watched this film and it really took me back about how similar it is to my life. And it was great because I was around about the same age as the main character, a little bit older I think, when the film came out. And it's kind of quite similar to my life. They're not exactly the same, but certain things are kind of very similar. And I was kind of like around the same age that he was at these certain years as well, because obviously they started filming in 2002, I think, over 12 years So I was kind of around about the same age that he was in these years as well. So I was really able to relate to it. It was great. We had all the different music in the film for the different years, starting off with Coldplay's Yellow and finishing off with Hero. And it was so great. I just loved it from beginning to end. It's a very long film, and it could have really dragged. It felt really long and boring, but it didn't. It was so well done. I actually loved it. Richard Linklater directed it, who directed like Dazed and Confused, directed School of Rock, which I loved. And yeah, it's one of my favourite films, I think. It was my best film of 2014 because not only did I think it's a great film, but I was really able to connect with it emotionally, really relate to the main character. It kind of really reflects my whole life so far, really. It kind of reflects my childhood, my teenage years, kind of growing up, leaving for university. It's great because when I first saw this film, I'd not long just started university, and I loved how it ended with him leaving and going off to university, and I just loved the ending. Everything about this film I thought was great. I think it was just note perfect, and also it was just a remarkable piece of filmmaking as well. Filmed over 12 years, how much time and effort went into making this film by both the cast and the crew. I think it really deserved all the awards attention that it got and all the awards that it won. I just absolutely loved it. I've got nothing but good things to say about it, so yeah, Boyhood. And the last film up that kind of reflects where I am in my life now, in a sense, it's Good Will Hunting. Another one of my favourite films. Another Robin Williams film. I had to put it on here. This is one of his best dramas, I think. One of his best dramatic performances. And I think, out of all the performances that I've seen, I think this is probably one of Robin Williams' best, if not his best performance. It was just so great in this. I was really able to connect with the film once again, with the characters, the relationship between Matt Damon's character, Will Hunting, and the relationship that he has with Sean Maguire and Robin Williams. Honestly, it was like really quite, when you watch a film and it's the characters kind of like you, it's like, whoa, it's kind of like, I didn't expect that. And I'm not like a mathematical genius or anything, but in terms of being quite kind of emotionally closed, quite defensive, not letting my emotions out, pushing people away in a sense. I'm kind of a little bit like that sometimes, and I was really able to relate to Matt Damon's character. He's kind of around the same age as I am now, and kind of what I'm kind of going through now in a sense. And yeah, and just the scene, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And I was just, oh my god, I was in streams of tears at that point, because for me, I find a film most emotional when you get a character who isn't very emotional, who's quite closed and quite defensive, and yet when they do become emotional and do finally let it out, that's what I find most emotional in the films. A character that goes from being quite closed and defensive to suddenly letting all their emotions out. That really hits me, and it did in this film, the whole "it's not your fault." So great. Honestly, I think it deserved the awards that it got. And Robin Williams, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Screenplay by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, who wrote the film. It's so great. And Robin Williams' performance, just some of the monologues he gives in this film, it's just so great. It's just so kind of heartfelt, and it's one of my favourite dramas, I would say. I find it so emotional. I'm really able to connect with the film, and it really kind of resonates with me on a really kind of deep emotional level, and I just absolutely love it. So yeah, Good Will Hunting. And that's it. So there we go. That kind of wraps up my video on the films that define my life, the films that really kind of reflect who I am as a person and reflect kind of different aspects of my life and what I've gone through, and kind of reflect who I am as a person, really, the films that define me. So there we go. It was more fun doing more of a kind of personal video, talking about films and my kind of personal connections to those films, as opposed to just talking about the films themselves. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's more a different, kind of more personal video in a sense. But yeah, I enjoyed it, I had fun. So what are some of your influential films that were very kind of influential to you at certain parts of your life? What are films that are kind of very kind of personal to you that you're really able to connect with? Everybody has kind of emotional ties and connections to all different kinds of films. Everybody's list is kind of personal to them, and I just love it. So yeah, let me know down below, I'd love to know. And if you like this video, make sure to click subscribe to see more. But for now, I've been David O'Sullivan. I'll see you next time.